Congress and the Bundestag. You'll see them wring their hands and say how they wish in hindsight they tried to understand, how they wish they'd seen the warning signs and heard the generals speak and believed them when they talked about the vengeance they would wreak. How they should have known this was not idle conversation, how they should have listened harder when they said elimination. Yes, once it's all too late and the graveyards are all filled, once the last Palestinians killed. On Manhattan Island, in the halls of the UN, the whole world will come together to say never again. They'll open a museum full of relics of the past before those who used to live there resisted till the last. We'll look at pictures of the rubble with the dead limbs poking through. The viewers will shed a tear and wish the leaders knew before the war ended in the way Ben Gvir had willed, once the last Palestinians killed. In the parliament they'll say, perhaps we should have listened instead of purging Europe's biggest party of internal opposition. Should have paid attention to the millions in the streets, to those massive crowds around the globe voting with their feet. Should have read the signs, should have listened to their words instead of denouncing all the talk of genocide as just absurd. Should have looked at the pictures of the bodies charred and grilled, once the last Palestinians killed. When the last tower block was flattened, in the days before the last bakery was bombed, in this total war when there were still kindergartens, when the hospitals still stood, this would have been the time to question if we should have been sending all those weapons instead of barring them complete. If instead of cheering on the evil enemy's defeat, we might have asked if there was anywhere left for flour to be milled, once the last Palestinians killed. When the project is complete and they make the desert bloom, once they finish turning cities into tombs, once the dead are out of sight and buried in the ground, once the rubble has been bulldozed and no one hears the sound of dying children screaming from somewhere down below, once the shopping malls are gleaming and no one needs to know how many babies' bodies are in this soil that we've tilled, once the last Palestinians killed. Once the last Palestinians killed.